There are some devil fruits in the One Piece universe that you would just never want to run into. So we're going to go ahead and name 5 of the worst devil fruits that you would under no circumstances ever want to encounter. Some of these are going to be kind of obvious, some of these are going to be tied more to the people that ate them, but all in all, I think these fruits all represent some of those things that just the majority of pirates, people, and even marines would not want to be around because of various factors. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you more anime content. So, when it comes to devil fruits that I think most people would actively want to avoid, one of the most important ones is the poison fruit. It's kind of a basic one to start out with, but the name kind of gives it all. It just emits poison. And Magellan uses this quite effectively as the Warden of Impel Down, and that's a good thing because it's really a dangerous fruit in a dangerous area, but it's not one that the vast majority of prisoners ever want to come in contact with, and unless you're Luffy, who can, after the experience of getting doused with this, develop a high immunity to poison, it's pretty terrifying. There's a reason why most of the prisoners in Impel Down were scared of him. So, that's a pretty good consideration. Also, this fruit does not grant you immunity to poison. I think it grants you immunity to the poison that you make, but not just poison in general, which is why Magellan spends so much time in the bathroom. Alright. The next fruit that you would never want to see is the shadow fruit. Now, I actually kind of think this is the interesting concept for a fruit because, kind of like another fruit on this list, it's one that can affect other people or just yourself, and depending on how mean the user of it is, it's really scary or not. Unfortunately, the person that ended up with this fruit was Gecko Moria, and it is a very scary fruit in that way. This fruit allows you to manipulate shadows. In particular, at least as far as we know, only the shadows of living things, especially people. Because of that, you can take the shadows away from people, which can be pretty bad, but really has 2 significant side effects. A, you can implant those shadows into a dead body to turn it into a zombie, which is good if you want to build an undead army. And then the second is that the person who has their shadows stolen can never again set foot in sunlight. If they do, they will burn away. That's kind of a problem. So, it's kind of a dual effective, especially if you're taking the shadows from enemies. In addition, this also does allow you to manipulate your own shadow. And with careful use, it can even allow you to use shadows to manipulate properties kind of from other devil fruits. This is how Moria was able to allow Oars to somewhat replicate Luffy's style of attack, using his shadow to manipulate Oars' shadow. We also know that he could shape his shadow into different types of constructs, like bats and stuff, and even swap places with it, like a kind of teleportation. All in all, it's a pretty strong ability, and one that would be terrifying to run into in the wrong circumstances. I think another fruit that would be really terrifying to run into if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time is definitely the Magma fruit. I think I had to put a Logia type fruit on here, and especially considering all of those fruits that you could have picked, because they've belonged to some of the worst enemies in the series, none kind of really seem to compare to the Magma fruit. Don't get me wrong, it may or may not be the strongest, there is always a contention with the Rumble fruit, but truth be told, something about lightning always seems cool, and Magma just seems destructive, which is ironic because Magma can also be creative if it's mixed with water. It creates new landmass. But for the vast majority of One Piece, Magma just seems like this terrifying force. It even outpaces the Maramara no Mi. It allows the user to still be indestructible, like all Logia fruits, and the pain and scale of devastation that a person could unleash with this is, well, there's a reason why Pompeii is not around anymore. So, it's a pretty terrifying fruit, and if you're up against an enemy with it, unless you have a very select amount of abilities, you're not coming out on the other side. That having been said, the next entry is probably one of those, and that is the Soro no Mi. Now, when it comes to the Soul fruit, in its other name, it's kind of a dependent fruit. This is a fruit that's kind of like the Shadow fruit, but more robust. You can take Soul, life expectancy, as they sometimes also refer to it, and you can imbue it into things to give them sentience, turn them into soldiers that work for you. Big Mom does this all the time. Now, much like the Shadow fruit, there's 2 different ways you can do this. One is that you can take other people's souls, and the other is that you can use your own. The problem with this is that you're still using, life expectancy, although it has not been confirmed how much it necessarily affects the person that ate the fruit. There is like a hint from Big Mom that on Wano at one point when she's taking some of her own soul out, that she can imbue it, and she says this will be like a year of my life. But it's still not entirely confirmed how much that's going to affect her overall, whereas we can clearly see the effects of when she uses it on other people. It is worth noting, though, that there is a difference in the homies that are made, the soldiers that are made with the fruit, in the form of homies that are made with other people's souls are weaker, ones made with her own soul are far, far stronger. But that might also be because Big Mom is so much stronger than almost everyone else. And that kind of leads us to the last fruit. It's the rival contender with Big Mom in the Wano arc, and that is Kaido's Ui no Mi model Seiryu. The fish fruit model Seiryu is terrifying. It's amazing, but terrifying. I think I had to kind of put this here. I put this with the Soul fruit because it's a force of nature. I mean, I put Akainu's Magma fruit in the middle because he's stronger than those first two fruits, but he never went after these characters. There's no indication at all that the Magma fruit, for all its powers, could overcome the strength of the Soul fruit, or in particular, Kaido's Dragon fruit. This fruit turns you into an embodiment of nature. I mean, you can create whole weather systems, you can breathe fire, you can breathe lightning, you can make a whole island fly. You become pretty much invincible to everyone but the most proficient hockey users. You're pretty much immune to every other form of devil fruit. It's truly terrifying. And I mean, don't get me wrong, some of that might be attributable to the fact that Kaido was an org, but a lot of it was the fruit. I mean, we see it with Momonosuke, even though he's not fully trained with it yet. If he gets a good grip on it, who knows how strong he could become. I mean, this fruit really is probably the biggest deterrent to why the world government never went towards Wano and the whole time Kaido was there. So I think that this is definitely the most terrifying fruit you could run into, but what is your opinion? What do you think the most terrifying fruit would be? And also, while you're here, go check out my video on the weakest straw hat having been revealed.